Hey, I'm Jason with Vision Warriors. I've been with the ministry for 5.5 years now.
I'm Nick. I've been with Vision Warriors for about 19 months now.
We're just gonna share over a little bit of Nick's journey and story. So tell me a little bit about what it was like, how you got to us, and what it's been like since you got to us.
I've been using drugs and alcohol pretty much my whole life, man. At a very early age, I started using marijuana, alcohol. Throughout my teens, it started expanding to, different pills, Xanax, cocaine, methamphetamines. Progressively got worse throughout my teen years. I suffered a lot of consequences from the very beginning, but none of that ever deterred me from using. I just kept going and running hard. I grew up in like a household where my father was an alcoholic, my brother was also an addict, so using and running around was pretty normal to me. It was a normal part of my life. I grew up as a Christian, or so I thought I was a Christian, had the Word of God planted at me in an early age, but none of that stopped me from using or drinking. I was just running wild. Got into a lot of trouble here and there, but none of that was ever enough to stop me from using, man. It was a part of my life. It's the way I used to escape from everything, you know what I mean? I drank all the time, dude. I was always partying, always constantly using, and then...
Tell me at what point you decided you were a broken man?
So in 2024, it was probably the worst year of my life I'd ever experienced. I was coming home from work one day, I was still in my addiction. I just got out of another treatment place, stopped going to meetings, stopped praying, stopped talking to my sponsor, stopped doing all these things that I knew was working, and I started using again, and it progressively got worse instantly. Within the next 6 to 8 months, I was full-blown in my addiction again, overdoses, you name it, everything short of pretty much, death. I was on my way home from work, man, and I got into a pretty brutal car accident. I fell asleep. I was sober at the time. I wasn't intoxicated or anything. I ran a red light and got crushed by a big pallet truck, man. It almost killed me. Had to get cut out of the car. Broke my legs, both my legs, my hip, almost bled to death, broke my jaw, shattered my face. Just a mess, you know what I'm saying? I spent 2 months in the hospital. I was on intensive care, had a trach put in and everything. So when I woke up from that, I thought that this is it, God has delivered me from the life I was living. I thought this was going to be the turning point for me. I was going to surrender to God finally and things were going to change. But unfortunately, that's not how it happened. I had to suffer a little bit more. Lost my ability to walk for 7, 8 months. Throughout the process of healing from that, I got addicted to the opiates that I was on at the time, man. I got really strung out on those. And then at the same time, I just, obviously lost my ability to work, lost the apartment that I was staying in. The woman that I was with for 10 years in a pretty toxic relationship at the time on my part and hers, it was just, it all came to an end, crashing down on me. And I didn't really have anyone in my life at that time. I had to move back into my mom's house. I did have my mother. She was taking care of me at the time. I couldn't even do the most basic essential things like go to the bathroom on my own.
You couldn't, but if I recall a conversation of ours where you managed to get to the pill bottle.
Yeah,
you couldn't walk, but you could get to the pill bottle.
Yeah, so even getting in and out of the wheelchair was a struggle, but once I had the ability to do that, the first thing I did was, I started abusing my pain medication. That just took me off again, during that time I was praying to God and I was like, God, I know you delivered me from this and you saved my life, so how can I serve you? But at the same time, I have this opiates flooding into my system and it's just taking off. Once I put that substance into my system, man, there's just no holding back anymore. It takes over my whole life. So through that, I got out of bed, I was able to get on my chair and I started abusing my pain medicine, and then it just took off. I was back to drinking again, back to using meth, back to using whatever I could get my hands on, essentially.
The allergy and the obsession.
Yes, so it's in the big book it talks about, we have this allergy of the body. So anytime I put any kind of mind-altering substance, alcohol, pills, you name it, that takes over, and I develop the phenomenon of craving. And what that is the obsession of the mind. Once that drug enters my system, that's all I'm going to think about, that's all I'm going to want to do, and that's what happens to me every single time. And then once again, it talks about it being, it's also a spiritual malady as well, This thing affects us. What it is a spiritual sickness. That's what addiction is, And I was right there in the middle of it. Fast forward to some time, 7 months after the accident, I'm learning how to walk again. I'm learning how to do all these things again. And I'm obviously abusing my pain medicine. I'm running out of that instantly in 2 days. I'm just, I'm a mess. My life is in shambles. I've lost everything. And man, just one day, it just occurred to me, I don't have anything left. Suicide was the thought and was the move. I'm like, man, I don't want to suffer this pain anymore. It was physical, it was spiritual, it was emotional, it was mental, it was all of this. And I just didn't see a way of how am I going to work again? How am I going to get back on my feet? I didn't know if I was going to have the ability to even work or walk, for that matter, regularly again. So
So you decided you were broken.
I decided I didn't decide, the world decided that I was a broken individual. And when the thought of suicide started surfacing, man, another thought occurred to me. I'm like, why don't I just hit my knees, man? Why don't I just surrender? Because I don't have any other choice left. Like, so I hit my knees and I begged God. I'm like, God, please, if you're there and you're out there for me, man, please, like, save me, because I cannot do this on my own. I can't do it. Like, I need restoration, man. I can't do this without you. I hit my knees and just cried out to God, begging, for some kind of help, man, because that's where it took me. And within a few hours, man, I would say God showed up in a big way and answered. At that time, I didn't know why. I mean, God sent my sister and my aunt over, and they had an intervention with me. And I had been in and out of treatment before, but this time I had made a decision. This time I was going to do it differently, and I did. I surrendered that day. I found a treatment center that would take me in Roswell area, Recovery Village of Atlanta. I did 60-day detox and treatment program there. I knew that on this journey, like, I had to have God at the center of it. Like, he had just reached out his hand and grabbed me, and I knew that day I was going to serve him for the rest of my life. And fast forward, like, I'm at the Roswell Treatment Center, and I was placed with the therapist that she had the same kind of beliefs as me. Like, I was looking around her office, and I saw these, like, scriptures, and we started talking about Jesus, and we started, she mentioned a place called Vision Warriors, and she thought I might be interested in it. So she starts telling me about this place where it's a Christ-centered place where men come to get help and transition and build each other up. The first thing that appealed to me about Vision Warriors was this vote-in thing, this thing that they do here, where essentially you get a 30-day probationary period. You come in the door, like, you're being evaluated by your peers, and they either vote you in and you can stay after 30 days, or you don't get voted in. So what that told me there was that the men who are at this place, who are going to be here, are serious about what they're doing and serious about their walk. And that's the first thing I was like, okay, well, this sounds like a place that I want to go, you know what I'm saying? If these guys are actually voting each other in, let me see what this is about. And got on the phone with one of their intake coordinators, Christopher, spoke with him for a couple weeks, and I got out of treatment and went home for a couple days and was going to spend some time with my family, which I did. I spent some time with my mom, but the second day there, I said, this is too much. Like, I need to get to the community of Vision Warriors, like, because the thought was coming back in my mind of, like, what happens if I drink a beer here? I was like, nah. I called Vision Warriors, came up here on a Thursday night, and my life had completely changed, man.
I remember your first couple weeks here, and you were in my small group.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the exact conversation, but your share, really sparked in me just utmost joy, I would say. And I remember just because I love broken people, and you were broken. And it's the broken ones that really, really have the shot. Until you're broken, you don't got a shot. I think you don't have a shot at this. Yeah. I had to be severely broken, so it excited me. Tell me what it's been like since you've been here as it relates to your spiritual malady and addressing it. Because you've excelled quite a bit in the last 18 months. Nick is house lead, by the way, here at main campus. Yeah. He's our house lead. Tell me a little bit about that.
You talk about the brokenness, and one of the things I thanked God for it in the beginning. Although I might not be broken still now, like, I thank God for that gift of desperation that he gave to me, because I was so desperate, and that gave me the willingness to do whatever it took to never go back to that lifestyle. I made myself a promise in front of God that day that I would never, ever want to go back and feel the same pain that I was feeling that day when I surrendered to him, man. I was not going to do it. Having had experience in recovery before, and I already told myself this was going to be a walk Christ-centered, you know what I mean? Coming in the door, man, I knew that programs like AA were working for guys, you know what I mean? I could see the radical transformations that were happening in their lives, because I've been around the rooms. I've been around men who have transformed their lives in programs, fellowship of AA. And grant, like, that's not the only way to go, but for me, I had experience with it, and I seen what it was doing for men that I witness in my life, you know what I mean? So I dug in, man. When I got here, I was fortunate enough to be sitting in this meeting over here, and there was a guy here who came to be the discussion lead, and I heard what he was saying, and he had told his experience and shared it in the meeting that he had been at Vision Warriors about 3 or 4 years ago, that he had been where I was at currently at that moment, you know what I mean? That immediately sparked something in me. I'm like, this guy's been here, he gets what I'm going through. Maybe I should ask this guy to be my sponsor, you know what I mean? And I did. I asked the gentleman in there to be my sponsor. He's been my sponsor ever since, and I was just like, I took off with him, man. I knew that I didn't know anything, and I had to forget everything that I thought I knew about recovery, or I thought I knew about this, or I thought I knew about that, and I was willing to do whatever he suggested that I do. Because they don't tell you what to do, you know, your sponsors, they suggest things, but it's strongly suggested that you do these things, you know what I mean? So I did whatever he told me to do, man. I dug in. Obviously, I was still on my journey with Christ, you know what I mean? I was reading my Bible daily. I was doing things different, fasting, you know, I was seeking God with my heart, but I also went the route of Alcoholics Anonymous or AA, because if I pair that with my relationship with Christ, man, like, it's only a win-win, you know what I mean? Like, how can I fail, you know, as long as I'm willing to take suggestions and do what these people tell me and work on my relationship with God. So I dug into it. I did what he told me. We went through the steps, and I did what was suggested. And through that, some of the suggestions he gave me was, you know, get on the phone and call some of these men that have been to Vision Wars before, or that are in this community, that have been in recovery before. Like, I think that's one of the toughest things for me to do, is like get outside of myself and like create relationships, because I had spent so much time like isolated and by myself. You know, I didn't really know how to be a part of a community. I didn't know what community was or what that looked like. My idea of a community was where the dope house is or where the trap house is. That's a community I could be a part of, you know. How can I manipulate this or lie to this person or steal this from somebody? That's what community looked like to me. So when I walk through the doors here and there's men loving on me from day one, and they've been where I've been and they've made it through, and they're leading successful lives, or what I would say successful lives. Yeah, business owners. My sponsor is a surgical technician, you know what I mean? Went back to school. Just like digging into the community, digging into the men around here. Like, I was so grateful, because I knew like I didn't have to figure out any of this by myself, you know what I mean? I think if I had to like come in and figure all this out by myself, it would have been overwhelming. I wouldn't have known what to do. I probably would have gave up, you know what I'm saying? Because it was so overwhelming. When I came through the door, I didn't have a license. I didn't have a vehicle at the time, didn't have a job, didn't even know if I was going to have the ability to work because of my injuries that I suffered prior to. That was another moment where I was like, faith is like an action. So I stepped out in faith, knowing that God brought me this far, that I would have to trust him with the rest. And the word has been like throughout the season, like, wait, just wait, you know, like, because there's times where I wanted to leave. There's times where I wanted to back out, you know, I wanted to go back to my old lifestyle, but I kept hearing, wait. Like, so I've been obedient in the way.
I'm still hearing that 5.5 years in. So.
Yeah, and it's tough, man, in these seasons like of waiting. And but I know that everything that God's bringing me through right now is like molding and shaping my character. Like, there's references to James in there. Like, I can't quote it right now by heart, but I know that, you know, all this stuff is for building me up to be a better man, you know what I mean? And this is the place where he's placed me to do so, man. And it's just been super encouraging. The community, like I said, is just men. I'm surrounded by men that you know, throughout my life, I never had any kind of really, I guess, role models looking up to. I mean, I loved my dad. He had his own struggles. He was a good man, but because I had so much resentment towards him, I never like looked up to him as a role model. My older brother kind of, I guess you could say, was my role model, my two older brothers. But the men I sought after were the men who could get the most money, the men who could sell the most drugs, who could make these moves on the street and do these things, like who had the best like criminal rap sheet, things like that, you know what I mean? All those things like is what was appealing to me since coming here, man. You know, like those things no longer look shiny and fancy to me. Like, I'm after a relationship with God, and that's what I'm chasing now. So when I see the men that continue to come back to this ministry and pour back into this ministry, and I see how they maneuver and how they work through life and their relationship that they have with God and Christ, like, that's what's appealing to me now, you know what I mean? That's what I seek after. That's what I look after. So when I see men moving in that direction, that's who I'm going to go to and talk to. That's who I'm going to allow to speak into my life. You know what I mean? I'm grateful to have just men like Chaplain Lloyd, men like Jason here, my sponsor.
Oh, that was sweet.
Yeah, there's all kinds of guys here, man. Like you know what I mean? Just look around on Thursday night, man, and there's any number of men who continue, who like, these guys have been out of Vision Wars for like 5, 6, 7 years, you know what I mean? But they continue to come back here to give away freely what they've been given. That's what I love about this place. It's unparalleled, the community, man. Like,
well, I really admire your walk and your pursuit, and after all that God has for you, and I'm grateful for your willingness to serve this ministry, grateful to serve alongside you. So I'm excited for you, man. Just stay in the pursuit, and God's got big things for you for sure.
Yeah, amen. I believe that too, man.
Yeah.
So I will say this one last thing, like serving here, like a big part of my recovery and my walk with God is giving back and seeking how I can give what God's given to me and what this ministry has given to me. So the opportunity to serve is just, not only does it help me in my recovery, but I'm able to help the new guy who comes through the door, the broken man who was like me a year ago, you know what I'm saying? And if I'm able to do that and give that away, man, like, that's in itself is an honor. it glorifies God and it helps the ministry. And
Yeah, man.
yeah, sharing that testimony, man, is powerful. So when you see a broken individual come to the door and you're able to give them a hand or lift them up in any kind of way, man, that's just like, it fills me. That's what it's all about.
So what was that verse in Revelation you shared with me before this?
So before we started having this conversation, I prayed to God and asked God to, let your words flow through me, and whatever you want to share through me, God, let me be the vessel. But I immediately thought of a verse from Revelation 12:11, I believe it is, where it says that they overcame the enemy by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to the end. That's the verse that stuck to me when I had the opportunity to share a little bit about what Vision Words has done and what God has done in my life ultimately. You know what I mean?
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No problem.
And
man.
thanks for all you do.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for everything y'all do, man. Appreciate it.